Hey everyone, this is Thyworm and today I want to dive into my Necromancer build. This will be just one of the different versions I will be trying out, so stay tuned and subscribe for more last Epoch Necromancer builds. Starting with the philosophy of the build. This is a build that is very relaxed, very laid back. You summon your army, you enter a mission, your minions do the work. It's ideal for streaming so you can read the chat. It's great for farming and watching a series on your second monitor. It's also good if you want to play an action RPG while suffering from carpal issues or RSI. You're really only required to move around and if you want, put mark for death on the enemies. That's it. Only with heavy map modifiers or late in the arena your minions start dying, so you normally don't have to worry about that. This build has 4 key features. 1. A huge number of melee minions, the more the better. 2. Minion buffs and enemy debuffs. 3. A heavy focus on intelligence. 4. Minion stats and defensive stats on your gear. The general idea is that the number of minions provide defensive bonuses to myself and my undead army. The main way for the minions to stay alive is to do health leech using crits, and by debuffing our enemies we buff all our minions at the same time. Intelligence is a great stat because all spells and minions scale with that. This isn't the build with the most damage, but it offers very safe farming and a nice relaxed playstyle. After watching the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. On to the passives. Our passives in the Acolyte tree focus on Forbidden Knowledge for minion damage and stats, and Blood Aura for more minion damage. Maybe Dark Rituals is worth investing in, but I went a bit more defensive with Crimson Gluttony for some health regen. The passives are really a mix between health regeneration and damage output for your minions, and you can definitely play around with some of those nodes. In the Necromancer tree we take all points in the Risen Army, which is a big damage boost. We take 2 points in Blood Armor for health regen and fill these up later. We almost maxed out Mortal Tether for the additional health, because later up this passive tree we are reducing the health of minions again in order to summon more of them. Soul Drinker provides us with 1 extra skeleton, which is great. We take 3 points in Tyrant because we need the 3 points for the next node, Tyrant's Legion. This is an insanely strong node with some very minor drawbacks, increasing our army by 3 additional skeletons, which is amazing. Moving to the right we have Cling to Life, which requires 3 points for the next node, Empty the Graves. This is our main source of armor and synergizes really well with our minion count. We max it out, at which point it gives us 16 armor and 8% health regen per minion. I have on average 23 minions running around, so that's over 350 armor and 170% health regen. Pretty OP. We round it off with Disciples of Necromancy for an additional skeleton mage. Then we look at the left side of this tree and we take 1 point in Frantic Summons because it is required for River of Bones. This node provides our army with a lot of sustain, increasing their crit chance and making them leech health off of crits. This synergizes well with the way we specialize our skills, but we will get to that bit soon. We took all points in Heresy because intelligence is just so good and yet more crit damage for the minions. If you level even some more, closer to 100, you could take additional points in the Lich tree, particularly crippling Insight with 2 intelligence per point invested. Overall, just try to find a balance between damage output and minion health. Finally, at the very top, we took all 5 points in Veins of Malice. Every time I cast a spell, in our case Mark for Death, we buff our minions with Haste and Frenzy for 5 seconds. This is on a 10-second cooldown, which means half of the time my entire 23 minion army has Haste and Frenzy, critting away through my foes. It's a really nice synergy because of the way we specialize the skills, so let's look at those next. Going for the summoner skills first. We will start with Summon Skeleton, and we try to make this army as consistent as possible, and so we went with purely rogues. The archers felt unimpactful and they missed a lot of shots. The rogues on the other hand are extremely proactive, lightning fast and usually off on their own, killing everyone 1 or 2 screens away. It's very satisfying and I decided to go full rogue here. That means we take a nodes to get rid of the warriors and the ones to get rid of the archers, and of course the one that enables the rogue. Along the way we take 2 easy nodes that give us 2 summoned skeletons because they're easy investments. Marrow Tap I put some points in because of the health leech, 2% seemed decent enough. The Acid Flask deserves a special mention here because it shreds armor and it stacks. And I have 9 rogues, all behaving roughly the same, so when they encounter a boss they shadow step, they all throw their flask and suddenly this boss has 900 armor shredded. Works pretty well. Then the Summon Skeleton Mage. We follow a similar route here. I opted for Death Knights only because I wanted a melee only army where everybody buffs each other and debuffs the enemies. Also, I don't like to be surrounded by ranged minions close to my hero. I want everyone to run off to the enemy so I can watch from a safe distance and clearly see where my character is. Also, minions tend to block your path sometimes and ranged ones do that even more. We also take 2 nodes here for additional minions, and there is a heavy focus on crit damage because crits heal these minions, making them much more sustainable in battle. The flaming attack gives 20 base fire damage, which is huge, and it works really well because it scales again with minion stats and intelligence. Our third summon spell is Summon Bone Golem. I didn't want these guys to do tons of damage, but instead act as a decoy and buff our army. That's why I split them into 2 golems using the twinned golems, and one of the golems is now a blood golem. This spreads out the golems a little bit because one is melee focused and one casts a spell from range. And then we invest heavily in buffs because I want these guys to buff our army. So they give 280 armor and 16% increased movement speed to everyone around them. I have 2 golems, but I'm not sure these effects stack, to be honest. If they do, it's amazing. If they don't, it's still worth it, it's just a little less impressive. Our final summoning spell are the Summon Wraiths. We specialized here primarily to create some ad hoc army in case we need it. When we're about to be overrun in the arena, for example, while my rogues and death knights are killing everyone 2 screens away. That's the main use of this skill, to quickly get a bunch of reinforcements. And we usually have some mana to spend, so then it's good to just cast this in advance. We buffed up our wraiths, gave them additional damage and a bunch of leech, so they stay alive for a very long time, as long as there are enemies around. Especially during arena waves, this skill is really good. Because I didn't want to cast individual wraiths all the time, I went for the echoes inside, combined with army of wraiths. It's very expensive, but you do summon 7 wraiths in close succession with a single mouse click, and that is exactly what we want. I want reinforcements and then run away if I have to. Or we just plant a small army somewhere on the map just in case we expect an invasion of enemies, and then whenever I see one of those guys taking off, I know enemies are nearby. Once again, a great tactic in arena. Last but not least, Mark for Death. I tried really hard, guys, to not include this. I went with Wandering Spirits, but those are just so random and awful in terms of damage. I tried Cremate, but you can't specialize that. And then I went for Mark for Death, and it is so good. It's boring, but it's super good. With this spec, enemies take 55% more damage, we shred armor by 75, we shred necrotic protection by 150, which is the damage type of our wraiths and death knights, and we increase the size of the debuff AoE. It is so insanely good. On top of this, because this is a very cheap spell, I am pretty much spamming it on every new pack of monsters we meet. And because we have our passive, the Veins of Malice, I buff my entire army with Frenzy and Haste. And you do this when cursing a group with a melee army who are already close or already fighting them, which makes this whole synergy extremely efficient. Let's talk about gear. My gear currently really isn't all that impressive, but generally you just focus on all minion stats, minion damage, maybe minion physical damage on your weapon like I have, and then take some protective things for yourself. Elemental protection is nice, but also around 400 protection against necrotic, void and poison should prevent you from getting one shot. In terms of gear, this is a very easy build. Go intelligence and minion stats and take some defenses. Easy. Finding the gear, however, not so easy, but I will keep grinding. This is after all an excellent build for grinding. All this has brought my minions up to 368% more damage, almost 600% more health, 14% crit chance, which heals them, and 200% crit strike multiplier. Not bad, but with better gear you can hit some really insane numbers here. For now it's definitely enough, as you can see in the clip. Finally, here's the build in action. It's pretty simple. You move your character, you see a pack of enemies, you curse them with Mark for Death, and if you want, you summon 7 wraiths. Only if you want though. I will try some more builds for you guys, with minions, but then with a twist. Different damage types, different minions, blowing up our own minions for buffs and debuffs, using different spells and different playstyles. A more active way of playing a Necromancer as well. Looking forward to that. Follow me on Twitter, guys, for some news updates. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. I really appreciate that. See you all soon. Bye bye.